In the final season of Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek fans were given a wealth of new information about the Progenitors, one of the Star Trek universe's most ancient and fascinating species. Although they had been gone for billions of years by the time the Federation arrived, their civilization had an enormous history in the development of life in the galaxy, and their memory endured in one form or another all the way into the 32nd century. But the Progenitors weren't the only unimaginable powerful ancient species in the Star Trek universe's distant past. Over the eons, many intelligent species rose and fell across the galaxy. Of those few that were still remembered by the time of the Federation, the Iconians might have been the most interesting. Though they had been gone for hundreds of thousands of years by that point, they were still remembered with awe and fear by people across the galaxy, and in this video, we'll be explaining who and what they are. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host, Captain Jack. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. Did you know we're enjoying making these Star Trek videos on various topics, and we hope you're enjoying watching them. If you want to support their development, please join our Patreon via the link below. You'll get exclusive access to videos and events, as well as more Galaxy class rewards. As always, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then of course we want to hear about it. Okay, engage. The Iconians hailed from a world known as Iconia, or sometimes as Iconia Prime. This planet was located in what the Federation considered the Beta Quadrant, within the Romulan neutral zone, close to the Romulan border. The Iconians were a humanoid species, who rose to power over 200,000 years before the time of the Federation, and they were revered and feared by other species for their unusual and highly advanced technology. Millennia before humanity and its neighbours first even developed agriculture, the Iconians built up a vast empire that spanned much of the galaxy, all from their home in the Beta Quadrant and all the way to the Gamma Quadrant. The Iconian Empire was made possible by the Iconians' most significant technological achievement, the Trans-Dimensional Gateway. Now, this is somewhat similar to the Stargates of the Stargate franchise. These devices function as portals, allowing the Iconians to travel instantaneously from one world to another. The Iconians built these structures on their subject worlds, but they didn't need to have a gateway on a planet in order to travel to it. Gateways could also be set to generate portals to all sorts of places, spread randomly across the galaxy. This allowed the Iconians to build a galaxy-spanning empire without the use of starships. The Iconians' ability to appear on planets at will, without the use of starships, terrified many of the peoples they encountered, who remembered the Iconians as demons of air and darkness. Those species who still remember the Iconians by the time of the Federation described the Iconians as conquerors. Federation scholars were less sure, however, and some speculate that these species had demonized the Iconians out of fear of their gateway technology. Whatever the truth was, it's clear that at least some of the other species the Iconians encountered had an issue with them, to the Iconians' eventual misfortune. 200,000 years before the time of the Federation, the Iconian Empire was destroyed. Unknown enemies of the Iconians carried out an attack on Iconia itself, subjecting it to an orbital bombardment and transforming the planet into a wasteland. The Iconians were believed to have been wiped out in this attack, although this isn't entirely certain. It's possible that some Iconians escaped through the use of their gateways, and if so, it's anyone's guess as to where they went. The planet of Iconia itself was lost to history, and the Iconians as a species faded into legend. By the 24th century, they were considered a myth, until an archaeological dig on Denius 3 uncovered a map to Iconia itself. The Galaxy-class USS Yamato investigated the ruins of the planet. Still, upon approaching the planet, an automated and long-abandoned Iconian installation on the surface dispatched a probe to make contact with the ship. This probe transmitted a computer virus to the Yamato, which ultimately led to the ship's destruction. The Yamato's sister starship, the USS Enterprise D, took over the investigation from there, and it ultimately led to a standoff with Romulans over Iconia. As both ships began to experience the effects of the Iconian computer virus, Captain Picard and an away team investigated the sole remaining installation on Iconia's surface, which contained an active Iconian gateway. Picard had the installation destroyed to prevent the Romans from gaining access to the Iconian technology, but he and his team were able to use the gateway to escape first. A few years later, another active Iconian gateway came to light. This one was in the Gamma Quadrant. This gateway was seized by a group of rebel Jem'Hadar, prompting a Dominion strike team, led by Wayun, to ally with Captain Sisko and the crew of the USS Defiant to destroy the gateway and the rebels guarding it. The mission was a success, and in canon, no other remnants of the Iconian Empire have been found since. However, the expanded media, particularly the MMO video game of Star Trek Online, provides us with much more information about this now mysterious species. Star Trek Online establishes that, while the Iconians were once fully organic humanoids, a few that survived the fall of the Iconian Empire became beings of pure chronoton energy, functionally immortal and able to divert part of their energy to power equipment or fire energy blasts from their hands. From the beginning, the Iconians had a small population. Both the ancient Iconians and those who survived the fall of the Iconian Empire had a race of servants known as the Heralds, who were related to the Iconians but bred to serve them. The Heralds were similar to the Jem'Hadar soldiers of the Dominion, imprinted with absolute loyalty to the Iconians and genetically engineered to serve as servants, soldiers, and companions for the Iconians. Despite this, ancient Iconians were not conquerors. They had their own version of a prime directive, believing each species had its own destiny and needed to develop on their own. The Iconians refused to share their technology with anyone due to this belief, and this bred resentment among the many of the species they encountered, ultimately leading to the destruction of Iconia. Most of the Iconians perished in the collapse of the Iconian Empire, but a handful did escape. With the help of time-travelling humanoids the Iconians knew only as the Others, a few survivors were able to use the gateways to flee far across space. The survivors ultimately settled in the Andromeda Galaxy, inside a Dyson sphere, where they were radicalized against the other species of their galaxy and began plotting to retake what had been theirs. Over the course of millennia, they amassed a huge army of heralds, and they became secretly involved with the Romulan Tal Shiar, who attempted to adapt Iconian technology for Romulan use. This backfired catastrophically, resulting in the supernova of the Romulan sun in the late 24th century. In the early 25th century, the Iconians at last returned to known space, marking the beginning of the Iconian War. Operating from a Dyson sphere, which they had moved to the vicinity of Iconia, the Iconians unleashed a massive fleet against the peoples of the Alpha and Beta quadrants, sparking a devastating 6-month-long conflict. After just 3 months, the Iconians were on the verge of defeating the Alpha Quadrant powers, but the tide turned after the Allies discovered a Kremen temporal weapon and staged an assault on the Iconians' Dyson sphere. This failed to stop the war, however, and before long, the Iconians were on the verge of attacking Earth. Desperate, the Allies sent a strike team back in time to stop the Iconians from surviving the original bombardment on Iconia. In the process, however, the strike team discovered that the ancient Iconians had not been conquerors, and had not deserved their original fate. Instead of carrying out their mission, they decided to help the Iconian survivors escape through the gateways before returning to the present. Upon their return, the Iconians realised that the members of the strike team were the Others who had saved them in their time of need. Moved by the show of compassion, the Iconians decided to end the war, choosing to return to isolation to reconsider what they had done and purge themselves of their need for vengeance. The Iconians only requested that the Allies leave Iconia itself alone, allowing them to rebuild, and with that, the Iconian War came to an end. So that's a look at the Iconians, both in canon and the expanded media. As always, if you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. A big thank you to everyone who supported us on Patreon. Your support allows us to continue making these Galaxy-class videos. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.